And we're here. Some might say better late than never, but I'm here. And there we go. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody's not here yet. I have to wait to see. Not terribly sure who all is doing what all or where all they may be doing it, but we're going to take a quick looky-loo out there and we'll see what's going on while we wait for people to jump on into the stream. What I need to do first is I might need to do a little bit of this housekeeping. What a great way. So today is the 10th. I trust the 10th of October, the 10th month, the 10th day, and the 10th hour just went by somewhere. And I'm sure that people are doing all sorts of great things today. And, we're just going to kind of hang out here. Last night we had a great time with some new people hanging out, doing some first time going live. And tonight I'm sure someone might drop in and they too may do a first time going live. I don't know for sure, but we can only hope, right? Otherwise, I'll stay here this evening and I will talk for a while until it's time to do something else. Now, what I could do is grab my, there we go. All I have to do is think about grabbing my guitar and people pop in. And I think that's great. So welcome to Late Night at Scotty's, the house of Scotty P. And let me look real quick here and just make sure who all is having a live tonight. Now, I'm in the right one. Now we'll go, okay, so we have the Keto Cookout is still going live right now. What-row. That's okay. They do a great job over there, and I hope they are having a great time. Looks like about 20 people coming from one channel. I don't know who's coming from the other channels yet. Let's take another gander here. We have 21 watching from Carnivore Today, 8 from Homesick Buckeye, and Alia has 16. And Laura is here. Hello, Laura. How are you? Welcome. I know there's a lot going on, and the everyday carnivore is out there too with one watching. So plenty of people watching the folks over there at the Keto Cookout Live. What have you been up to, Laura? Been doing well today on this wonderful Tuesday? I hope you have. I need to, but there you go. We'll get rid of that. Oh, they just closed. Okay, then my timing was impeccable. Even without planning, it was impeccable. What have you been working on today on this wonderful Tuesday? Everything going well? I hope so. I know today we were still working on, but we're starting to put tile up on the fireplace. Very exciting time. Very exciting time. I mean, if you're into those things, if you're not into tile, then you probably don't really think it's very exciting. But we did. We got the first course of tile down, and it was a booger today, a real bear. But we got it on, and that's what's important. All right. And, gosh, last night was great. We had a big man, Alaska big man up last night, and he did a wonderful job. What did you think about that? I think he did a wonderful job for his first one. Eating eggs with spaghetti sauce. Oh, God, my husband. Oh, he ate the ground beef now, did he, huh? I don't know if I told you, when we were in Germany, when I was young, my mom and dad met a local fella who he tuned pianos, and they ended up being good friends. And his last name was Stoffa, and he made a dish that's probably made all around the world in many cultures. But because we hadn't ever really had it, we named the dish after him. And what he basically did is he made a marinara sauce that he poached eggs in. And we called it egg stoffa. I'm sure it has another name by another recipe. And we were able to really, really enjoy that. And one day, when I am well maintained and feel very healthy, I'd like to make it again and have it again. And what my boys actually like it too, and they make it for their children. They didn't like it when they were younger, but now that they're older, like that's pretty good stuff. Of course, we know nightshades with tomatoes, but sometimes you just have to throw caution into the wind, live a little carefree, and have a marinara sauce, right? Well, welcome to those who are just now joining in. Let me go ahead. We have 5 people here, so let me grab the link and throw the link down here in the comments. There it is. And there we have it. So if someone decides, hey, I'd like to get a little time on the screen and help Scotty out here a bit. Oh, look at that. I still have some, oh my, a little mortar on my arm. I'm good on that one, just on this one. Okay, we're good. Putting up tiles today. Rough day. Because it wasn't that it was a physical day, but it was, you gotta measure and measure and measure and then remeasure and cut and go, oh my gosh, I didn't measure right. And I've never done tile. And doing tile on the floor is a lot different, and I guess from what I heard, easier than doing tile on a wall. Wall tiles, messy. But we're getting there. So we have the first 2 courses up. And tomorrow we'll get another full row up, just 2 end cuts. Then we'll start another row. We have to do the top of the fireplace opening, and then from there up, it straight up, some side cuts, staggering them, bringing it up. Whoever thought staggering would be okay? It's a staggering thought. So it's Tuesday, and I was just wondering how people are doing with maintaining. A lot of times we get into the weekend, and either you have a really successful weekend, and you roll into the work week, and then something happens, and you can get thrown off your feng shui, so to speak, right? So now you're stuck, and you're back to the grind again at work. And I don't know about you, but for a lot of times, I have found that my weekends were the challenge, and my going back to work helped. Not always, but sometimes. Measure twice, but cut once. Yeah. Oh, you get a rhythm? I don't know. We're doing it outside, so we're using a thin set that we have to add a polymer to. So it's quite a challenge in that way, adding that polymer to it, and then getting the consistency right. And well, anyway, long and short is, when it's done, it's going to look wonderful, and it's going to look great for doing what we're going to do. Burn wood. Let's sit there and burn wood. That's right. So have you done much tiling there, Laura? Have you done it yourself? You did some remodeling or something like that? Well, I'm always going to know that I have this on here. Tonight, going to come off, but not right now. Not until we get a little bit more of the late night going on here. So also, I'm going to go out on a limb here. All right? Oh, I will post pictures. I'll post pictures. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm taking a lot of videos, and I am going to try to zipper it all together from beginning to end so that everybody will be able to say, oh, wow, there they were. Let's see. I don't know. What do we have here? Oh, yeah. So see, there we have the tile laid out on the ground, and we have that first course going in. Yep. And what else are we doing? Yeah. So I'll get it in. I've got lots and lots of pictures and videos, and I'll be able to make a video of it, and it'll be a pre-recorded one instead of a live. And I might even be able to find a way. I know I can use in this StreamYard. you can show slide decks. So I'm gonna try to find a slide deck that I can show then, and it can go in the live as well as being online. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it to being done for multiple reasons, and I know my wife is ready for it to be done because it's been a very time-consuming project. But the neat thing in all of this, I know I'm 10 minutes into this. We haven't talked. Hey there, Renee. How are you? How are you? Good to see you. The neat thing about this pavilion project, and in particular this project with the fireplace, is I'm doing it pretty well. I'm staying pretty strong, but I have had a challenge. I had a real issue with dizziness over the last week. And last night we talked about it a little bit, and I do believe it had a lot to do with electrolytes. I think my electrolytes were low, and I'm just so afraid of getting too many electrolytes and getting having to run to the bathroom too much, and that's an honest fear, don't you think? I'll post pictures. Hey, Renee. Everybody says hey. Hello, Julia. How are you? Welcome. Just finished a nice fatty ribeye. Now, are there lean ribeyes? I haven't found lean ribeyes, but I have found people who cut all the fat out and then eat just the meat, therefore making a lean ribeye. But just funning with you. Laura has, yes, we did a remodel of a bathroom, turned a garage to a huge bedroom, plus lots of customer decking and sunrooms and awnings. Wow. Whew. Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot. These delicate hands, these do not look like hands that have seen much work, do they? They haven't. I don't have that skill set. That my superpower is writing checks, or has been for a long time. That superpower has been somewhat diminished now that I've gone into retirement. You don't get to do that all the time, but nor do I have to because, well, think of it. I don't have time. So what I do is throw some of these little stickers. There we go. Try to do some of the work myself and use them with some friends and their knowledge and their know-how, and it really saves a lot of money. Too much electricity? Yes. Well, I think magnesium's the one that will send you at a frequent, because milk of magnesia, what it's for, right? So I think that happened. As a matter of fact, I think someone said last night for electrolyte, they said they take that milk of magnesia and they take like a quarter cup and they'll mix into a big, large volume, and that way they get all the magnesium. I don't like the taste. Just tasting it makes me have bad memories. So yeah. Hey, Bypass, how you doing? Hello. Good to see you in here with Laura and Julia and Renee. Hey, Michael, good to see you. So what do we have here? You have so much. You do save a lot of money, but you still got to spend a fair amount. Like today, I went and I rented a 6-inch or 5-inch, 6-inch tile saw. So I can, the pieces of tile are 2 foot long by 1 foot wide. And so, we got a lot of cuts to make. And so we went ahead and got the tile cutter, because I have a handheld tile cutter that is water fed. But with all these long cuts on big pieces of tile, I thought it's best. So I went to renting it. And the tiles. But the tile is much cheaper than trying to do stacked stone. Okay. Here we go. Got some people coming in. There we go. Hello. How are you there, Bubba?
Good. How are you doing?
I am well. I'm just regaling people with the build of the fireplace and things. And also, I had been struggling with some dizziness lately. Every time I bend down and come back up, I get pretty dizzy. And matter of fact, I sent a note off to my doc because I got back some, which is a very fortuitous that you came up, because I've been watching your videos where you talk about the white coat thing, the doctors, and the getting second opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, I had an ultrasound done on my liver, and the radiologist read it, did not have good things to say.
Oh.
But I think what happens is, since I'm a big person, and they have no idea, radiologist doesn't know how big a person is. They just look at stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said my pancreas was large, my liver was large, and my portal vein was large. But when I looked over the last 4 scans, nothing's changed. As a matter of fact, some's got a little better.
Hmm.
So I went ahead and did some more research, and as they say, tall people have bigger organs.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So my spleen of 13 centimeters is within the norm, being 6'5" versus being 5'10".
Mm-hmm.
So I
Well,
was like,
I think what happens sometimes is, well, I know this is what happened to me, because I don't have all the answers yet, because I got to go in and see the doctor in person. But I'm also waiting for because there was a referral for a cardiologist.
right?
But I have a feeling sometimes they say stuff because they don't want to have responsibility for it.
Well, that is true.
But I spoke to 3 different doctors and I had 2 different answers. So,
Well, it's
I
like
mean, what the?
it's kind of like talking to weathermen. You can get 3 weathermen in a room and get 5 different forecasts.
Yeah, I will say one thing though, and it's going to come out in the video. It's going to come out tomorrow, but we got to be kind of careful with what we say and what we say to people, because people believe in us and they're looking to us for advice, right?
Yeah, that's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, and what I found from this week, and I'm pretty sure it was caused from the stress, but I had a severe gout attack for 4 days. It just finally eased up today. And we have to really kind of take care of ourselves. And like I say, you got to be careful what you say. And I've watched lots of people say that this diet cures gout, but you know, I don't believe so. I believe it puts things in a state where you're functioning better and you're less likely to have it, right? But I was doing some research yesterday, and I should have wrote down the names of the one was a naturopathic doctor and the other one was a researcher over in UK. And one of the things I've found out, if it's true, and I'm sure it's probably true, is that ketogenic diets, if you're high in ketones, can cause up to 15 to 30% of gout attacks. So that completely contradicts to what people are saying that it cures gout. And I've had it for since my mid-20s. And I had like I had it. It hit me really hard when I first got it. Then I went about 10 years without anything, and then it came back again. But I find myself it's usually relative to whatever stress that I'm under. And so it's not strictly just a metabolic disease, right?
Well, I think you bring a very good point up, but I have a question about that. And
Yeah.
that would be, would it be worthwhile to try to recall what the state of your condition was in? So let's say if you're in a certain set of health parameters now, weight wise, blood pressure
Mm-hmm.
wise, all the things, and the variable is your diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the impact is different because we know that the body has a lot of feedback loops,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different ways to get to the same place. I can't get it this way. I try it this way. It may be more metabolically expensive, but I go and I do it. And some of the metabolites that are the how do you say the refuse, the byproduct of trying to get to what the body wants is going to get. Like if it wants to make sugar that it needs, it's going to go through the process of gluconeogenesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe by going through a certain process to get what it wants, there are some metabolites left over that end up becoming a a stockpile for another process. And what I'm thinking about, like reactive oxygen species, when people have to take a lot of, they want to take a lot of vitamins or eating fruits and vegetables because they say they quote unquote are antioxidants. Well,
Mm-hmm.
a reactive oxygen species is a natural byproduct of a lot of the processes in our body. However, because we come to them from a a a chain of events that is quote unquote healthier, that those ROS are actually been utilized for positive biofeedback and positive other things in our body. But when we have a very unhealthy diet, and let's let's categorize an unhealthy diet in this discussion as being one with maybe lots of seed oils, trans fats, and refined sugars, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's a pathway. I'm sure Dr. Bart or whatever, I can't remember his name. Bart, he's a smart guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Bart K.
Bart K, right? Maybe Bart K or a couple of the postdoctorate people could work through that process. But I guess what I'm trying to say with all the words I possibly know is we are in a static condition and our bodies can do a lot of different things. Kind of like that game at the carnival where there's a bunch of nails and you drop
Mm-hmm.
something down and ping pongs through and you hope it gets where you want it to go, like in the cup at the bottom, and you don't know where it's going to ping pong
Mm-hmm.
around. I think that's how we are in this community. Is thank you, Laura Bart K. I think that in this community we do grasp onto some knowledge, we make some changes, but since we don't know the host of other things that are interdependent and the cascading effects, we make a lot of assumptions. So a gout attack. I mean, if you're obviously already susceptible to gout, maybe it takes less for you to get more of a response than someone like
Well,
myself who barely has it.
well, my uric acid level was checked and it was quite high.
Right.
What I found though, as I was digging through this stuff, is that I can't even paraphrase it, but actually, the uric acid production in your body is a good thing because it's attacking something, and it coincides actually with fat loss because of the toxins that are released in your body through the ketones, right?
Right.
And I don't know how accurate I really am because I only read it the once. But what happened when I was reading this, and it made a lot of sense, even if you're drinking a lot of water, you can only excrete so much uric acid. I guess it's through your liver and your kidneys
Mhm.
as you're going through this process. So if there's an overabundance of it and you can't get rid of enough, then it's going to react. And not only that, if you're physically more active, right, those uric crystals are still in your joints. So when you're creating more movement, I think you can actually have flare ups that way and things like that, right? So
Yeah.
with me training again and stuff like that, I knew that there was going to be some pain involved. And I sat down with my old family physician who's retired, and we talked quite a bit about it at the beginning of this, so really what to expect. So I knew it was going to come. Just how bad it was the last 4 days was pretty brutal.
Well,
And but what do? You gotta go through it. The only thing that kind of upsets me a bit is when I don't like to see people. I don't know if they're over exaggerating or they really believe it, but we get, like I say, we got to be really careful about telling people what is a cure, right?
yeah, I think that one that's very true. I think words we should use are I am not experiencing the symptoms. I'm asymptomatic, or it could be like a remission, because cure means a whole host of different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in thinking of what you're talking about, I guess the body's ability to metabolize and otherwise utilize and neutralize the excess uric acid isn't unlike the body's ability to process ethanol, right? Or
Yeah.
you have a certain set rate, right? A half life, if you would. And if we were to extrapolate the fact that those of us who have not yet met our goal weights and our goal health parameters, we shouldn't expect that our bodies are going to be able to deal with our challenges in um, a succinct way, in a normal way, because there's so many other things that the body is still trying to do. I mean, for me, trying to push trying to push my blood through my liver, and my liver is saturated with fat, it's going to cause pressure problems within that system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day when I'm not running with so much extra ectopic fat and intrahepatic fat, maybe that filter system will work better like it purported to work. I wouldn't know. But anyway, hey, Becky, how are you? Welcome.
I'm fine. How are you guys?
Good.
I
Good.
agree. You shouldn't use the word cure, but I like reverse. Or when I say reverse my type 2 diabetes, for instance, I understand that it could be put back in the other place it was if I do the wrong things. So,
Mm-hmm. But even reversed is much different than saying it's a cure.
yeah, that's why I'm saying I don't
Yeah.
think cure is the right word.
Uh,
No.
I think, but it makes us feel good.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very dapper looking hoodie you got.
This is my son's brand.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's a hip hop art producer, music producer.
Oh,
He's a
wow.
even DJ sometimes. So
Oh, I know. I got something totally off topic for you, Scotty. You ready for this?
Make it happen, Ace.
Because you always ask me about guitar questions, right?
Yeah.
I went and did something because, it's funny because I've been noodling on the guitar for a while and I kind of gotten away from it. So I went into this guitar shop along the McQuaid and I've learned from different people. And I got to play with jam with a guy here that's quite famous locally. And he's actually just announced a tour in Europe, a guy named Jesse Roper. If
Okay.
you ever want to look him up, incredible player, incredible player. So anyways, I go into this Long and McQuaid and I go to them. I say, geez, have you got a guitar teacher here that's quite strict? And she goes, why? I said, well, I said, I've been noodling on the guitar for a while and I've had different instructors and, this learning stuff online isn't quite making it. And I said, I think it's because of my arthritis and stuff that, I can't make these chords properly. So if you're not making the chords properly, then you're pretty limited. So you're using cheats, right? So, and so she said, oh, yeah, there's this guy named Patrick. I go, I meet him. He got his degree from Berkeley in Boston like 20 years ago in jazz and classical playing. But he's an incredible blues player. And so I said, I said, I got this problem with making my chords. He goes, play something for me. And he goes, oh, what do you think the problem is? I said, my arthritis. He says, no. You're not holding the neck right.
Too much pressure?
No, it was, if you watch some of the really, really good players, that forearm is completely straight.
Right.
And then the angle of the hand. So he showed me how to do it. And it's like I'm having to relearn everything again. So the stuff where I thought I was doing pretty good, well, it really sucks now. It's a little bit humiliating. And I'm looking kind of perplexed, and he goes to me, what's wrong? I said, I won't use the curse word here, but I said, I don't know why this wasn't shown to me before. I said, what is it? I said, and I had some guys who supposedly really knew. One guy knew for like 40 years. He's one of the most popular blues guys on the island here. And he goes, there's two things. I said, what is it? Either they didn't know or they didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So yeah, if you watch like a Kurt Hammett or even a Stevie Ray Vaughan or something, you look at their forearm position on their fretting hand and how that hand, that thumb actually wraps over the neck and just behind the index finger. And it actually made a lot of difference. It took the pressure off the hand.
So you're talking about you don't want that.
Pardon me?
You don't want it like this, then.
No, you do.
Well, it's easy for me because I got great big hands. My hands are all over this thing.
Yeah. Well, my hands aren't long enough to be like. Well, I better not say, but.
Tiny hand. Oh.
Yeah.
That's so funny. My son's music production company is called Small Hands, Big Slaps, because he has tiny hands like his mom.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and the funny thing is, I took this Strat in. I got a pink Strat, a Squire Strat. It was my daughter's first guitar, and my daughter, she'd been playing the piano since she was like 3, 4. She was composing music at 4.
Wow.
Just amazing. And she had this, I bought her this pink Strat, and she gives it to me. I said, why are you giving it to me? She said, throw it out. I don't like it. I said, oh, I couldn't throw out her first guitar, right? So I kept it and whatnot. And I decided, because I never leave stuff alone, that I'm going to turn this Squire $150 Strat into something. And I spent, I think it was like $1,200 on it. Had a proper graphite nut, locking tuners, Texas special pickups put in it, had to rewire the pots done, and had a GravTech, to do with the bridge. And I had all this stuff done, and my dad was down talking to me today, and he said, oh, that's Amy's first guitar. I said, yeah. I said, she didn't like it. She asked me to throw it out. Oh, that's a beautiful guitar. And, I had the neck done and the frets done and everything. And I said, yeah, I spent kind of a bit of money on that. He goes, how much? I said, it's like over $1,200, but he just about fell off the couch because I think that thing new is only $150.
Right.
Yeah, but it plays like it's come out of the custom shop.
Well, that's the funny thing about it. I mean, you see all these people do custom stuff. And you take a body, you put the right guts into it, you get a good neck, good frets, a good tuning pegs, all that stuff, and it all adds up. But I tell you what, I've held some really good guitars. I've been very fortunate in my life to hold very good guitars. not a one of them made me play any better.
Mm.
It's still up to
No.
the artist.
Well, there's a show on YouTube. It's called 5 Watt World. Guy's a jazz player. I forget. I think it's his name Brian Williams or something. Anyways, I was watching one of his videos. He talked about beware the gunslinger with only one gun, because the guy with only one guitar isn't in the guitar store buying guitars. He's at home practicing.
That's very true. And I've had that guitar. I bought that when I was deployed once just to do something other than drink. And, but I still don't know how to play much more than 4 or 5 chords. I don't have timing. I have no rhythm. I have no memory, but I keep them because I like them. And that's just about as important as it needs to be for me.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So whereabouts are you from, Becky?
I'm in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, you're not too far from me then.
Where are you?
Victoria, BC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Just a short drive and a passport away.
Yeah. I've been all around through there, like Klamath Falls and stuff, and down by the Sea Lion Caves. And
Oh, yeah. That's very close to me.
Yeah,
Sea Lion Caves is about an hour and a half from my house.
yeah, we did the dune buggy racing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sand dunes. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So I do on my channel. I do hikes around Oregon. That's my what I'm doing on the weekends. And my last hike was in the Oregon dunes.
Oh, okay.
But it's in the rainforest part of the dunes. So.
Mm.
So I just want to give a quick shout out here to our
Yes.
been carnivore 5 weeks, lost 8 pounds, feel better, 66. All right. Clear mind, more positivity, good feelings. Knee and ankle feel better too. And I prayed that I started, it would never.
Never thought she could.
Yeah, I never thought she could. You know, that's a great thing. I think one of the positive things about this lifestyle and the people here is you find out that regular folk doing regular things have found a way to feel better. And that feel better runs a pretty broad spectrum of ways to feel better, you know? But the most important thing I would say is that we feel better about ourselves and we feel more empowered, because it doesn't take too long before you can say no to things you weren't able or were unwilling to say no to in the recent past.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very empowering.
Yeah. And just that when the brain fog lifts, when the depression or whatever lifts, whatever you want to call whatever you have, might not be severe depression, but just that malaise, I think, malaise. It just re-energizes you. I know today I used to get so anxious about things at work, right? I would ruminate on them all night, and nothing that I ever worried about ever came to pass. I just always thought the worst case scenario. I don't do that anymore. I had quite a complex thing to deal with today, but I'm just like handling it, So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe there's something to the fact that there are aspects of our personal lives that we put on autopilot, and we let them run on their own. And then when they haven't achieved what we would like to achieve, kind of like getting in a boat without a captain, without a map, without a clue, right? And no chance of you really getting to a destination you might want to get to. Now we end up in being out of shape, out of condition, out of health. We do something to change it by taking control of this aspect that's been on autopilot, and we realize some of the dangers we've had with it. Maybe we realized it before, but we didn't want to own up to it or fess up to it. And now all of a sudden we're doing it. So now that we've gotten a hold of this part of our life, we feel like this other stuff is manageable too. But we do tend to be, for me, I know I am very much the path of least resistance type of guy. I don't like conflict. I way much been overly enthused by instant gratification. So now all of a sudden I'm realizing
Never fast enough.
it's going to take work, and I can do this work, and it's achievable. And there are little victories along the way and some hiccups, but then that makes everything else seem just a little less daunting.
I know.
I don't know.
I know.
Yeah, it can be just one little thing that gets you going, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Yeah.
It's this whole reason I decided to do hikes as part of my channel is because when I was younger, that's who I was. I was the person that was outside. I was camping. I was water skiing, whatever, bicycling all over town. And when you gain all that weight, you just sort of become held hostage to it. You don't do the things that you love, right? So it's one of the ways I keep myself accountable to is by videotaping it, videoing, taping, we don't tape, but you know, to keep I'm going to have a plan now. And I love it. I have a plan of places I want to go
Right.
in Oregon that I love because we have beautiful places to go,
And you get to share with people too. I think
Yeah.
I do believe people underestimate how powerful these phones are with the videos and everything. I mean, you can do everything, not everything, but do a lot that you can do on a phone, and
Amazing.
so everybody else gets to go with you. But I had this thought. I had this thought when you were talking. Now, pardon me for thinking while you're talking,
It's all right.
but when we were kids, we used to think, boy, it'd be great when I'm on my own. I have my own car and I could do all these things and I have my own job. And now look at us. Man, I'm loving going back to doing what I was a kid when I was thinking about doing the stuff I did in life and now I realize what I did as a kid was probably the best thing for me.
Yeah, it
Well,
was.
well, good physical and mental health is, really runs hand in hand, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you can throw the spiritual aspect in there, but we really have to work on all aspects of our life just to become better.
Absolutely.
So
I mean,
it's a complete package, right?
Yep.
it's a global approach, if I can use that word. I'm not trying to get into like buzzword bingo, right? But I was talking the other night with Big Man Alaska, right, with John.
Saw that.
And I was talking with Greg in an interview. So much of our lives gets boiled down to living like Flat Stanley, just two-dimensional.
Yes, I was thinking about that all day today. That kind of
everybody's either here or there. You're with me or you're
Mhm.
against me. And instead of saying, there's a whole host of things and they're all interconnected and you pull here and something here reacts, right? And so we do oversimplify it. Then we do start using terms like you were saying, Bubba, about cures. And hey, there's no panacea here, right? You find out, and we all find out, there is a series of trials and errors, and some things work. And then what's funny, or not funny, but interesting is you try something week 18 of this journey or week 9, and you don't get a great response. But if you go back to it at week 26, all of a sudden, maybe now it has more.
I'm on the thing, yeah.
So I think that's awesome. I think that we yeah, okay. Who do we got?
Oh, that was my dad.
Oh, hi, Dad.
Yeah, I should get him on here one day. He's pretty funny.
Do it.
Oh yeah, he's got lots of stories growing up in northern Saskatchewan.
Oh, I bet you.
Oh yeah, there's lots of fighting and stuff going on back then. Yeah.
Well, in the end of all, I think that the things that are interesting is, and what we probably all need to remember is, what might not have worked at one point in time may work in a different part of our journey, and that we probably shouldn't try to pigeonhole ourselves like all I'm going to eat is beef, butter, bacon, and eggs for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's also a direct relation, and not to poo-poo on people, but I think the majority of the people like doing this are really good people, but I think some people kind of get caught up in pushing the channel, and they tend to say things that they think people want to hear, and that's not necessarily that accurate, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yep. I
So
I always tell people, I mean, I can't be monetized because of the field of industry I'm in, so
mhm.
that's not my motivation. I just I wanna keep I want to keep myself accountable. So if you want to join me, great. That's kind of the way I think
Yeah,
about it. It's just
yeah,
my personal vlog is the way I think of it.
yeah. Like I was talking to my son today about, this is probably the best thing I've done for actually my mental health, because it's you're really putting yourself out there, and the focus got to be in, if you're being really honest and truthful. I mean, people are going to see the results through the screen,
Right?
right?
Yep.
And my biggest thing I really want to help people with is the mental health aspect of it, and actually really believing in themselves to be better people.
Mm,
We made a decision that right at the beginning, no matter what happens, we're not going to put stuff attached to it asking for things.
mm.
Yeah,
Like it,
I think
we
that's
need,
exactly right.
have some integrity with life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Hey, Woodster.
yeah, hey, Woodster, good to see everybody.
Haven't seen you in a while. I don't know. We haven't crossed paths lately.
Well, he has two young children, a job, and everything else too, and I,
Don't we? We all got stuff, right?
right, well, we
Right.
do, but when you have youngins like he does, I mean, that's a full time, and just what
It
we were
sure
talking
is.
about earlier, everybody wants to do well in this, I guess, YouTube verse, right? And we measure well differently, but if you're not real careful, YouTube can take over a very large part of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another addiction, right? You got to, if you put the work in your mind when you're doing the carnivore thing, you don't want to turn it into what you're trying to leave.
Right?
Right.
Like I've
Trade
known
one
quite
idol for another, as I say. That's what
I've
people do.
known quite a few people like in different 12-step programs and stuff like that, family members, and being part of the bike community and where I used to work, dealing with a lot of people, a lot of addictions. And the one thing that happens is when you start going to those meetings, like people got to do whatever they got to do to sober up, right?
Right.
But just because you're sober doesn't mean you fix the problem that made you go that way. So a
Yeah.
lot of times that whatever that insecurity is mentally is transferred to those meetings, or it can be to your YouTube channel, right?
Hmm.
It's you don't want. I don't know. I just don't think you want those things to take over your lives. Like my mom, she did two different programs for, oh God, over 40 years, and she helped hundreds, maybe a few thousand people into rehab. And when she got ill, this last 2 3 years now, out of all those years of helping those people, how many people do you think phoned when she stopped going to meetings? One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of mind.
You know,
So it's really quite sad. It's hypocritical.
well, I think it's true. And when you look at it from the perfect rear view vision of 2020, um, I've heard it said oftentimes that you could count yourself lucky to have three or four good friends. I mean,
Hmm.
people that will drop what they're doing and
Hmm.
come to your aid, right? And all of us in social media, we know many more people than that. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of relationships, and we've allowed it ourselves,
Hmm.
are let's say at the beginning necessarily shallow,
Yeah.
but over time, the question is like someone asked me where did I meet my wife once. I said, well, I met her in a bar, but we didn't conduct our relationship there, right? We
Right.
lives were that was at the place that we met, and then we did all these other things. And 32 years later, it's a good thing. But the idea is, when you invest in relationships, like your mom was investing in people, trying to get them healthy, and they were in no way, shape, or form healthy. And then
No.
they take their fledgling healthy selves and they go out into the world, hopefully, and they thrive, right? But now they're in their own world. It's almost like raising children sometimes, I think. I raised my children to be successful and independent people, and they're successful, independent people, but then they don't call me.
Mine either. that's that's the double-edged sword.
I guess that's how it is. My mom and dad ran a halfway house for wayward soldiers during Vietnam when we were stationed in Germany. All these people, my mom and dad let them stay at the house and took care of them, and they had there was a lot of alcohol involved, but it was a place for them to be safe, right? They did it for decades and decades. And then when my mom got sick and then died of cancer, who was there?
Nobody.
You know?
Yeah.
Just the way life is. I don't think we should be surprised by it.
People hop on and off the train every day.
They do. Yeah. They do. Matter of fact, I had someone tell me when I was in the military, put your finger in a glass of water. All right. Now pull your finger out, and people will miss you for about as long as it takes for that hole to fill with water. And I've been in a lot of different military organizations and a lot of places. I'm retired now, and I'll be darned if that isn't true.
It's true. Yeah.
It is.
I've been in so many different, social setting, this thing, and then you move on, or you moved or whatever, you don't necessarily stay in touch with people. And
so the question I have then for this august group of people, if we know this to be true, why are we like Charlie Brown trying to kick that football and going through it and feeling disappointed?
Because Lucy's very deceiving.
I have very uncharitable thoughts towards Lucy. If I were Charlie Brown, my foot would go up and over just a couple feet to the right, and I'd kick her so hard in the head. We should never be able to hold that ball again.
Yeah, no, it's no, that whole thing with Lucy and Charlie Brown is actually very stoic.
Yes.
Right. And that's one of the things that Marcus Aurelius talked about a lot in his meditations is about how, there's very few really great men or women that are actually remembered if you really think about who actually gets talked about. So you shouldn't really expect anything when you die. I mean, when you die, your legacy dies. We all turn to dirt. I mean, it's just what happened. Like very, very few people will either they got to do something so exceptional or so brutal for them to be talked about.
Well, is there a conversation to be had about why are we trying to be memorable under those auspices or in this world? I mean, I think investing in people, right? If you invest in people for the joy of investing in them, right? For the joy of watching someone become a better version of themselves, and you take from the exchange those kind of ideas, not that you're setting yourself up to be loved, adored, respected. At the end of the day, when you walk away from a job, whatever your job is, you say, I've done my best. I didn't cut corners. I didn't cheat, right? I learned something. I learned something about other people, and I'm physically whole, that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Well,
sure.
I think what it comes down to is fear of death. And what I mean by that is that's one fear that most people have.
Right.
And they're worried, you worry about your legacy, but if you embrace each day like it could be your last and live it and not fear death, there is quite the release there. And
I agree. I think we may arrive at the same point from different vectors, but I think
mhm.
we're at the same point, right?
Yeah, it's funny because when I had that bad news from the doctor and I wasn't sure what was going on, my dad was kind of upset and he was talking to me. And I said to him, I said, well, I said, I'm not too worried. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I consider myself a good person. And if I'm not here tomorrow, I know I've left the world better by doing one better thing than something wrong.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm good with it. And he just kind of looked at me like he was wondering, how I could even think that way. But I didn't used to think that way. It actually took a lot of work, right? So, whatever relief you can have so that you don't stress and have that anxiety, it's extremely important to work on it. And that's what I don't know. When I watch some of these videos, I can see it in people, and I've kind of stopped watching a few of them because I can see it in them that they're not putting the work in there. They're actually putting in lip service. And because what I used to do for a living, and I was supposed to go get my master's in social work, but you know, when you're working with the type of people that I worked with, you're dealing with people who are professional liars and telling stories,
Right.
right? And you can't help but learn or have the ability to see through that and see through that with people where they're not accepting responsibility. That is key. That's key to anything to be moving forward. And I've had lots of discussions with some people that have been through like real hell, and and listening to their stories and where they came from and why they had such severe substance abuse issues and what they went through in the home or what their parents were like and things like that. And I got into a discussion with somebody on the phone, I guess maybe a week ago, and I was asked what the most important thing was to me in my life, and I said my kids. And the lady responded, she said Jesus. And I said, and I hope this isn't offensive. I said, I don't agree with that at all. She goes, why not? I said, if my kids aren't most important thing to me in this world, what have I got? And she goes, well, in your journey, aren't you putting your to Jesus? And I said, you're speaking like a paradox. She goes, what do you mean? I said, was he the one that made you fat? Is he the one who's giving your kids addiction issues or they can't socialize? I said, no, it's your responsibility. I said, simple. I said, you can't put that off to other people. You got to work on the skills. I said, if you're saying he's ahead of you teaching your kids the skill set to become a better person, you're advocating any responsibility of them failing in life. I said, you're the key to their socialization.
So I think, and I don't disagree with you in what you're saying in what the role that a parent or a person who's in a parent role, because you can be in a parent role and not be a parent. Okay, so
That's right.
okay,
I tell you, I saw lots of those.
Okay.
And when I was talking to those guys and I had to look in their files, and if I had to, I go look in the master files and admissions and discharge. I knew exactly what was going on.
Right.
And you would be surprised the households they came from.
You're probably right, but I have had some exposure, not professional, but particularly when I was in office, I was one of the people who had the audacity to actually follow through, and I would do a lot of work with people, with the children in the foster program, and
Mm-hmm.
I tried to be an advocate for them from a perspective that they didn't expect, because I think that's very helpful, and
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of thoughts on them, but the thing being is that when there's a role for you to take care of your child, there is nothing that I know of from a spiritual aspect that says that we are absolved of our roles and our responsibility. As a matter of fact, it actually says more about doing it,
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
ran across something that said all I need to do is follow Jesus and the heck with my kids or anything like that. That's just, pardon me, for saying that, baloney.
yeah, it's what it is. It's advocating responsibility,
Exactly.
right? And and I hope I didn't say that in an offensive manner or anything,
Oh
but
no, I'm not
I
offended.
was so ticked off with that conversation,
Yeah, that's just
listening
that's
to that, and
total abdication. That's a total abdication of responsibility. It's a cheater's way out, and
mhm.
and my heart breaks that someone thought, one, that was a truism, that there were people around him who or her that had some type of influence to continue that idea, and for the children or a child who was in that environment. I mean, we'll just suffice to say there are twisted people who use all sorts of reasoning and thoughts and
I,
philosophical points of view to justify them doing nothing, or to let them have their desires.
yeah,
You know?
I don't even know if twisted is correct in a sense. I know what you're saying there, but there's
Perverted, maybe?
no
Perverted.
get out of jail free card in life as monopoly.
That's right.
It just doesn't happen now. I know myself with growing up. I mean, I've had issues with both my parents, but um, that sometimes they don't understand why I do things the way I do. That's just kind of the way it is. But what I had to learn was that my parents did the best they could with how they knew and what they had, and the story. So if there's something that's bothering me now, as being 57 years old, I have to let it go.
Yeah,
I
I
have,
don't disagree with you.
yeah, you have to let it go, because if you don't, it's just going to eat away at you. And that's the things, like, as we're going through our journey, our carnivore journey in life, if we don't let go of what's gone on, you might lose the weight, but you might not be a healthy person. And at some point, that weight's going to come back.
Well, again, I think that spot on in that we were talking about it last night with the people who take the quote unquote easier way out with Ozempic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you lost a lot of weight. You took a chemical pathway. Odds are you'd be just like that show, The Biggest Loser. You didn't fix the underlying
Yeah.
problems.
You didn't
You
work
want to,
on your addiction. You didn't you didn't work on your emotional eating. You didn't work on
Attitudes, knowledge.
attitudes.
I know somebody, I won't mention his name, that I know from California that knew those people that ran that show, had something to do with it. And he told me that if you knew what they were doing with those people to produce the results, it would make your skin crawl. Right? You know, think things like diuretics and all sorts of stuff. It wasn't what you saw.
Yeah.
Right? So
But it never is. So what we know about these things is we may come from different places, but I think, Bubba, you have uh, um, articulated and lived a position that says it matters how you get there, right? You
oh
know,
yeah.
the ends justifying the means, and otherwise, it's like, or that the it matters how you get there. And I think when we realize that, and like you said, we take responsibility for it and we take the steps for it. And okay, so how about this? I'm not going to be a world renowned ballet dancer, and it's no one's fault. And I shouldn't expect myself to be that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I need to do is like with the guitar, I'm not going to be a world renowned guitarist,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. I don't need to be. How about I just set my sights to saying I can appreciate a world renowned? But I think we've gotten into this mindset in our culture that if I see something, I can be it, I can do it, and I can be lauded for it without working for it. And that just
Mm-hmm.
don't work.
Ye old participation trophy.
Well, yeah, but you think about that, the people really feel, and they really, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, people really get emotional, and their emotions are real, and their emotions are valid. They're not based on anything supportable, right? They're not
Mhm.
based on something healthy. And I think that kind of goes to what you're saying, Baba, on when a person is hurting,
Mm-hmm.
confused, you do no one any good to disabuse their reasoning, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's incumbent upon us to sit there and tell the person, you're good, you can be a good person outside of all of this. Let's bring it down a little bit and try to see people as they are and not overinflate or underinflate. No one gave us a great big pin to go around deflating people's bubbles, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
And we get caught up in that, but then we do it ourselves. Like, hey, I'm on the carnivore. That's all the rage. I'm going to lose all this weight and get all these mystical cures, right? I'm not going to need cataract surgery anymore. I'm not going to need this. I'm not going to need that. I don't need to take my type 2 diabetes medicine anymore. And okay, slow your roll,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the ride. The destination isn't the total thing, but we've gotten so instantaneous in our society. So have you seen those videos? Carnivore for 10 days, my results.
Yeah.
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 Vegan
Please.
for 7 days, my results. Drives me crazy.
Yeah, it does. And I think the other thing too, you're gonna finding there's a lot of people coming from other genres are coming in because they're not making it whatever with what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's what was it? I was on JT's thing Friday night, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the saddest things happened. He's such a good little guy. I shouldn't say it like that, but I really like him. We talk quite a bit, and somebody actually phoned in there and said that they were contemplating suicidal thoughts while we're on his live stream.
Mm.
And they're all kind of like that, right? And they looked at me and they said, "What do we do?" And I said, "Well, I think you better text them the number to the suicidal prevention hotline." I said, wherever the person is at. I said, "You don't even know what part of the world they're in, right?
Right.
You just don't even know." And I talked a little bit after it because I've seen lots of enough suicide attempts to fill anybody's life, and some that actually followed through with it and some that didn't, and other acts of violence. And I could tell that they weren't really comfortable with that call. And, you know, there's a lot of tough things in life that you got to kind of not take it on. You just got to let it slide.
Well, we do tend to put ourselves in a bind by taking on things that we can't control. I mean, maybe it started way back when my mom told me, "Do you know the little kids in Africa are starving?" You know,
Mhm.
that guilt complex.
Yeah.
I always felt like later on in life, saying, "Okay, we'll put it in a box and mail it to them." You know,
Hmm.
but I would never say that. I barely could think of it. My mom would slap me so hard I'd be dizzy for a week. Um, but the idea being is we do find ourselves acting as if we're responsible. Like I think that well, there's just no money to be made in having a hero complex.
No.
Nope.
And
You cannot save the world.
my heart breaks for women. I saw some comments in the chat where people have had disastrous relationships and I'll just say it with well, divorce is an ugly thing, and I can see that it is inevitable in certain circumstances. From my exposure to it, it's normally got maybe two sides to a story. That and I like to say with my wife's her first marriage and the dissolution of that marriage was she owned part of the issue. But
Hmm.
he had a 4-lane superhighway going his way, and she had a game trail going hers. But she wasn't without responsibility, right?
Hmm.
I've just found too many times, maybe all the years of working in bars and everything, but I just saw too many people trying to fix broken people like it was their job in life to take this person who, even though he had flaws or she
Hmm.
had flaws, I can make them better. I can make them good. My love is big enough and good enough to do that. And it's such a disaster, and it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
painful.
I seem to
Oh,
be
I
a
tell.
magnet for those people. And then, then you have to do that hard cutoff, and that's not easy.
Mm-mm.
You know?
No, I tell you, I've been on my own now almost 8 years, and it's funny when I first was on my own. You're out doing the dating thing and meeting people, and you're trying to fill that void. And I swear there's at least just as many female predators out there as there are men.
Oh, I guarantee there are. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tell you, I sure ran into some funny situations. I think I was at least smart enough to sidestep, them. But yeah, it's you can't move forward again. Even stuff like that is, maybe we should have like a relationship show or something. But if you don't take care of your garbage and you keep pushing it forward, you're never going to get anywhere.
I just,
And I don't know how many times you go on a first date and somebody's talking about their divorce or their
yeah,
crapping on.
nothing says inviting like going through your old trash.
Yeah, and then there is definitely people that I met that because you're on a rebound, they're trying to fix you. They're trying to fill that something with them by trying to fix themselves by using you, right? And uh, it just it just doesn't work.
But, you know,
I pass on all of that. I've been divorced 15 years. No thanks.
Yeah.
well, I got a good friend of mine. He's my. I like to. Him and I are like Bubba and Forrest Gump. He's my military buddy,
Yeah, yeah.
and dearly love that man. And he was going to buy a house in my neighborhood here. It was built. He put down the earnest money and things looking great. And this guy, he is a guy who, if you put him in a room full of 100 women and only one of them was a duffel bag, he would be attracted to that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Been married, divorced 3 times. So he's been 20 plus years divorced, right? One son, dearly devoted dad. He got nothing to do with it. He said, there's enough to do in life. I have enough to do in life to not have to fall for the same Lucy and Charlie Brown football thing, right? But
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, unfortunately, he won't be able to move here because he just got a diagnosis last week of cancer,
Oh.
and so the challenge there, we know, it's when it's somebody else, it's always a lot easier to give advice. But when it's the person that you're really close to, you just kind of get lost for words. And I think what happens is it's you know finding purpose and peace in life can be challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if whether you come from a vector or like you, Bubba, from a stoic perception about, hey, do something good and have a good impact on the world, or if you come from it from a faith-based
Mm-hmm.
approach, it still comes down to the basic truth is every single one of us is going to lose this body.
Oh, for sure.
And when you face that as squarely as you can, then
Mm-hmm.
the decisions you'll make are freeing. I mean, art is replete with examples of people who have made that peace, and then they move on, right? And they develop relationships. There's a book called Tuesdays with Maury. I don't know if any of you have ever read it.
No, I haven't. No.
Written by Mitch Appam. I can't pronounce his name.
Album.
Album. He was a sports writer.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, his this is a true story based on one of his professors who ended up with Lou Gehrig's disease,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole life cycle of that and relationships. And I owned a few copies and have given them out and gotten them back and given them out again. But the idea is, all of us will have to face that one day. The question is, like a lot of people say at funerals, the dash between the dates is your life.
Mm-hmm.
And what impact are you going to have? And then if you find yourself chasing things that don't yield the results you really want, right? Maybe you should chase something else. And that's a lot of us here in the carnivore community. We were chasing things that didn't yield results. And now we decided to go and do things differently because with healthy bodies and healthy minds, we have a more fulfilling life. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I don't think that's a difficult concept, but when you're in that dark place, like the person who called in who was in a suicidal state of mind, and you can't guess they are or they aren't. You can't say, oh, they're an attention grabber or whatever. Like you said, the best advice: get a pro involved, right? It's not about offloading that problem, right? But it's about making sure the right person was dealing with the right thing. Well, the same thing for us, right? We have to get the wrong things out of our lives. And for a lot of us, for me, it's sugar. For me, over imbibing in sweet things, not getting enough of the good things to eat, that leading to a whole host of much more beneficial things. I mean, the fruit of the labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were saying that, Bubba. You can see it when a person is walking the walk.
Oh, yeah.
If you
Nobody.
a person on carnivore for 6 months and they don't look any different.
Nobody should ever have to tell you who they are. They'll show you.
That's right.
Right. It's
Proof's in the pudding.
I've had a rule, especially in the biker end of my life, is anybody ever has to tell you how solid they are, you just walk the other direction.
Right.
Because they're a rot. I mean, they've already showed you because they're talking too much,
Yeah.
right? It's just the way it is. It's like I don't know. There's so many simple rules and stuff my dad told me when I was young are so true. Like you never, shit where you eat, pardon the expression, things like that, right? You don't have relationships with people you work with and all sorts of things. And it just makes life simple. And I've always told my kids that, if you're gonna do something and you say you're gonna do it, you better do it. If you're not gonna, you have the balls to say no and don't. Don't be that person looking over your shoulder.
I think in that whole
Called integrity. Yeah.
is an underpinning of the construct of consequences.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can use any verbs and any adjectives you want, but doing something has a consequence. Not doing something has a consequence.
Yeah.
And hopefully you have some semblance of a moral compass. Now we can debate morals and things of that nature. That's okay, fine. But I think all too often many people try to put such a fine point on their understanding of the cosmic all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us are still using crayons. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
still trying to stay in the lines with my crayons. And I'm glad that some people can do masterful, complex things and they can handle lots of distractions and they can handle lots of challenges. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not there. I'm not ashamed to say I'm still using crayons in a lot of things, right? And I have had to learn that brute force doesn't win the day, right?
No. Well, we should always be using crayons until we die. You should always be willing to learn.
True, but there are
Yeah.
some lessons. There are some lessons you would think after 61 years would come a little easier, but I found that you know, uh, particularly for things we say,
Mm-hmm.
very challenging to consistently be um, adhering to your moral compass.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good
Yeah.
night, carnivore dog sitter Becky.
Becky won.
Well, how many Beckys are there?
Well, two of us, of course.
Okay.
I'm Becky too.
Yeah, she's a
Very.
very sweet lady. She
Uh,
sends me lots of nice messages, which I really appreciate.
I get so many nice messages. It's so encouraging,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Keep going.
I think we've said it many times in this community. This is a very, I'm gonna go and say special and loving community,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and gonna run into a knucklehead here and there, but that's what keeps it real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can't. Not everybody can be good.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I think that like the kid who comes in having to prove himself, right? And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you if we remember the root words for compassion, right? Calm,
Mm-hmm.
which is with, and patri means suffering. With suffering, if we can realize that there are a lot of people who are beginning their journey, and
Mhm.
I remember I cannot imagine how many older people I was around when I was younger who would just look at me, shake their heads, and go, "One day he may figure this out."
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around this space since 2018 and I did have a relapse and everything. So coming back into the community with all these new voices, and there are some that seem very, I'm going to use the word arrogant to me. I just want to say you better learn some humility because you haven't even been at this a year yet. And I know what Christmas and Thanksgiving are like, you know? So.
Yeah,
don't
those
know.
who know everything know nothing.
Yeah, a little bit of pride in there, but they'll
Well,
learn.
I think Bubba said it earlier. There's a lot of people I think who might be getting into our space because it's a popular topic now.
Yeah.
And there's one gentleman who was doing a lot of YouTube, and he is a older gentleman with a long white beard and wire rim glasses, and he'd be in a rocking chair like old Grandpa Joe, right? And he would talk about I don't remember what he was talking about, right? Some health food stuff. I don't know what it was. Anyway, I'd see him everywhere. And then I didn't see him for a while, and now I see him talking about a different topic. Well, one guy
Mhm.
used to do everything about cameras all the time. Well, cameras are out of vogue now with
With all the
these,
phones.
right? So now he's reviewing something else, and I got to think about it. These are people who have become invested as YouTube influencers,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I don't begrudge them their
I
gig.
know that
That's your gig. That's your
that's
gig.
their gig.
Yeah, and
It's
who
the way
knows?
they make life money.
You bring some people together who will benefit, right?
Mhm.
I'm
Do you
not
want to know one thing I've
Certainly.
noticed?
what's that?
You ready for this?
Huh?
When I'm bored, it's not that I'm spying, but I try and gauge how I'm doing compared to other people, right?
Right?
Now, I see some people that are moving ahead of me, say, with subscribers.
Sure.
Mhm.
But you know what I found? They have no views.
Mm.
I see people with quite a few subscribers. Not that it really matters to me, but they're not getting any views because they've brought them from somewhere else,
Ah,
right? So I know we've talked a little bit where I think you felt disappointed with that sort of thing, and I've done it myself, right?
Like the
And I'm
rate of
speaking,
growth
yeah,
is
because
not very.
whether we're here to help people or not, there's always a little bit of a competitive streak in somebody that you want to do better. I
yeah.
mean,
We
it's
look at
just
the
the way it
data.
is.
We all look at it.
Yeah,
Yep.
we all look at it, right?
Yep.
And my son reminds me because my last couple of videos really tanked and it was kind of ticking me off. And he goes, "Well," he says, "it happens all the time. Every couple of weeks you get mad, Dad, and this." And I go, "Yeah, you're right." And because it goes up and down, up and down. But what I've noticed is over the 6 months, and I think this is what's going to happen with you, Scott, is those people that are watching are loyal. When you get into the analytics of your channel, when I have 100, 200, or 300 people viewing a video, right? There's at least 50 or 60% of them are subscribers. When my videos hit, say, 2,000 views, that's less than 10%.
Mhm.
Then my viewing time drops.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So that's not good. The better thing is to have, even if you only get 50 views and people are watching 75% of your videos at the beginning,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Because the people, and I won't mention any names, but there's a few of them. I've noticed in the last couple months, some of these people that have fairly, larger channels than we got, and quite a bit more views and stuff. If you look at their channels, some of them have a 300 to 400% decrease in views,
Hmm.
Hmm.
right?
I don't look that much at their other people's stuff, but yeah.
I can't, because it got me thinking one day. Because how do you know how you're doing if you don't compare yourself,
Hmm.
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
and not that it's that important, but it really makes me kind of wonder now. Not only is that happening in the carnivore spectrum, a lot of, because I watch a lot of guitar stuff and philosophy stuff, some of those channels are suffering too.
Well,
So
I have
it's
something of a theory on that.
yeah. What's
So,
your what's your thoughts on it?
well, so life is full of cycles, right? There are seasons and there are cycles, and that's just the nature of it. So there was quite a bit of time ago that I was on Facebook pretty heavy. I had Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, LinkedIn. I did all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because of being in politics, I had thousands and thousands and thousands of people I interact with. And I literally knew 90% of the people I was friends with, okay, because of the nature of the business, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But everybody was involved in it. But I think now a lot of people in the last, I would say, since the pandemic, are
Mm-hmm.
offloading a lot of this social media stuff. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think that it had a growth cycle, and it's wonderful. A lot of people don't know older users of Facebook were the largest, fastest growing users of Facebook for a long time because it brought grandparents and great grandparents pictures and connectivity with their distributed families. But I really believe a lot of people are just saying, I think I'm gonna go walk the dog. I think I'm gonna go do something else, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be a percentage. It could probably be broken out. There's probably a distribution that talks to X number of people will probably go do nature things. Other people find another outlet for their creative needs. There could be other things, and there'll still be a good portion doing all these social medias. But I think that's what's happened. I think people are look what's happened to a lot of the streaming services. You saw it with the television, the major television networks.
Mm-hmm.
People have decided there are other things that they're going to invest their time in.
There's more important things in life.
Oh, for
Well,
sure.
I'd like to say yes, and I'd like to believe that everybody's going to do that, but I know better.
Yeah.
I think people just find new ways to find a high, whatever. I use high in a very liberal
Liberal. Mm-hmm.
way. I'm going to do something different. I mean, I'm a serial hobbyist. I have way too many hobbies. I'm no good at any, not very good at many of them, but I love doing them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I hop and I hop and I hop and I hop, right?
I'm a hopper.
Yeah, I'm looking for a new way to be stimulated instead of saying, let me get good enough at something to where I achieve a level of mastery, like what you're doing with the guitar, right, Bubba?
Mm-hmm.
You said to say, I know how to play guitar. I like playing the guitar. I want to play more guitar, and I'm willing to sit down and put in the sweat equity to elevate your craft. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when Nana was in here, or someone is a cross stitcher, people like to do cross stitching, or I don't care what it is. If you like to make macaroni art, I don't care what it is, right? We could always get better, but sometimes we get to say, hey, the bright, new, shiny, popular thing, and we chase it, and then it doesn't deliver. It's hollow on delivering the results of where we feel that we've accomplished something. You could be a person who wants to be a Bible scholar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what that means? You have to read a lot.
You better read. Yep.
And then when you start reading, and maybe you're an old English, whatever it is you want to be, and then you go, well, I really don't want to put the work into it. Well, then you're never going to get the benefit. It's like, it seems obvious. Well, same thing with social media. I think with YouTube, I want to be a YouTube influencer. And then you start out in your gangbusters. Then you find out it's real hard. It's big time demand, slow return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, I don't really want it that bad.
Well, I know myself, what I've done is I pared it back because it started taking over other aspects that were important to me. So I made a conscious decision. Okay, I'm going to make 3 to 4 15 to 20-minute videos until I can reboot myself and figure out, how much time I've gotten. And the better I get at it, right? The quicker you are and the more you can actually do. But that's part of the learning curve.
Well, yeah, and I think in this space or in this arena, right? Doesn't matter what's this arena, whatever arena, you got to figure out what hills you're going to die on, what you're willing to pay, what are you looking for. For me, this is accountability, like Becky was saying, like a lot of people say, I feel accountable. I mean, my wife realizes I'll stay off the computer for a while, but comes 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna yak and be with you all because I feel accountable. One time I didn't show up, and one time I was in a down cycle, got some texts, got some calls. I said, you know what? Lisa's Blessed Life put out a nice shout out. Bubba did. I said, okay, I have to be careful and make sure that I'm investing in people who invest in me. I'm investing in something I care about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not looking. See, I don't need to get monetized. I'm good. I'm retired. I'm good. But I do like this community. I do like what we're doing. And so if my craft gets better because I like who and what I'm doing and with whom I'm doing it, then great. But it's not about monetization. The only thing I look at is watch hours anymore. It's, I like looking at the watch hours. I don't put out a lot of videos. I like doing things just like we're doing here. This is my space. This is what I like.
And it is appreciated.
Well, I think you help a lot more people than you're aware of.
Yep.
Well, I
wanted to comment on Linda here.
Okay, go ahead, do it.
This is true. This is when you feel better, you get back to your life, and then you're not as involved with social media. And she's,
spot on.
And there's so much, you really have to get picky about what you listen to. I mean, I listen when I walk, and I'm lucky because I have a lot of alone time at work where I can listen to whatever I want. But, there are other times I just can't get to it, let alone make something, So I feel for Woodster, it's not easy to incorporate it into your life,
That's right. And I think Linda's right. And you echoed it perfectly. I mean, think about it. When you get successful at doing this, you're healthy and doing so much. There's no more hours. That's one thing people don't realize. There's no more hours in the day.
No. A lot of those YouTube places like Think Media, if you really watch what they're saying when you get started on how to do your YouTube channel, one reoccurring theme, and I've watched that Mr. Beast being interviewed by Joe Rogan and stuff, and the one thing they all say, if it comes too quickly, you're not going to succeed.
That's right.
You're not going to get good at your craft. And it's like anything, something comes too quick, you're going to die. People are going to forget about you. You don't have nothing new to say.
Well, yeah, and their expectations become really high, and if you don't beat them, then they go away, right?
I think that's what Mike Shaw said when he put out a couple of videos, and he had perfect timing, perfect storm. He got tens of thousands of views and all this stuff going on. And it's awfully hard to sustain. That's like those people in the music industry, the one-hit wonders and whatever else. It's hard to sustain at the highest level without lots of resources.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when you look at normal distribution curves, as I like to look at them, and you think about early on, a little bit of change can yield a little bit of effort can yield a lot of change. But as you get further and further out, the amount of effort you have to put in to get 1% change is literally astronomical. So
Mm-hmm.
I think learning to live in the space you're in, willing to pay the price you need to pay, and being able to, this is, I think, a hard thing for people to do, enjoy where you are at.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying if you're in a firefight, in a foxhole, or in prison that you need to enjoy that. But what I said for the majority of the people, right? If we can learn to sit there and say, I'm okay, and this is okay where I'm at. Not everybody can be Elon Musk. Not everybody can be.
Want to be? Would you really want to be a Mr. Beast or an Elon Musk and get all that attention? And I just couldn't handle all that coming at me all
No,
the
of
time.
course not. But people would like to be able to say, hey, I don't have to worry about which bill am I juggling,
Well, that wouldn't be
right?
bad, but it comes with
But
a lot of
I would just settle.
baggage.
I would just settle for one groupie. That's it.
One groupie?
one groupie, yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
looking for
one
a keto
groupie.
cutie?
Well,
Low carb
oh
lady?
well, can always dream the dream, right?
I've been very fortunate because of the work I was in. I mean, I sat next to Bill Gates at a funeral,
Oh
and
wow.
but it was a funeral.
Weird.
I
That's a
mean,
weird name drop, Scott.
no, my point being is there are people and they go through the same things. And you were talking about, would you really want to be that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They all go through the very same things, and maybe you don't aspire, but they hurt and they have problems, and their problems are exacerbated because of their position, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
saying that I want to be like one of those people, but by the same token, a lot of people commiserate that they're not there. I mean, who was it? Who was Simon Garfunkel had a song about Richard Corey, right? You remember that?
No.
Richard Cory went home that night and put a bullet through his head. But it's a whole song about this guy who was super fluent, and yet
Mm-hmm.
he ended up taking his life, right? Because he wasn't happy. He wasn't fulfilled. He didn't have enduring things that was uplifting in his life. And so I think it's a good thing to make sure that we keep in our sights, right?
Yeah, he allowed his ego to take over.
Enduring and good and uplifting versus the flashy, shiny thing like
Mm.
a triangle from YouTube on a platinum plaque behind your back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was curious how many people are
Nice.
actually watching right now.
We have 15 people in here for about the next 15 minutes. All right, what's this guy get to
Right.
bed earlier? And I agree with you, Michael. That's one of the great things about doing this late night thing, after party. I don't know what call it is. We pretty much have a pretty good set group of people that could drop in and out, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's an opportunity for people to do stuff like we do. It was great having the John from Alaska in last night. Did you all see all that?
I saw some
No,
of it.
no, I was sitting with an ice pack cursing my gout.
I get that. Well, he had like 111-pound weight loss here in 21 weeks.
Wow.
He's a trucker up there in Alaska, and he is an intense fella. That's what I will say. He is a intense. Speaking of intense, ladies and gentlemen,
Hey, Doc.
it's Todd, the Carnivore Cure. How you doing, Todd? But
What's up in
yeah,
Montana?
what's that?
I asked him what's up in Montana. It's Montana, right? No,
Yeah, not the temperature.
not the temperature. Oh my gosh, it rained so hard here today.
Did it?
Yeah,
I guess that's why you all have forests.
it is. Rainforest. I
You know,
did a little short I uploaded
I
tonight about
have to go look
the
for.
rain. Go look for it.
I have to laugh. Being in the weather business, people ask me a lot of weather questions, right? Go figure. And of course, everybody gives me a hard time because if you're in the weather business, that means
Your
you.
fault.
It's not only my fault, but you're considered good if you're wrong only half the time, right? So I get all sorts of things. I have to tell them, "Is it going to rain today?" And I look up and say, "You live in a desert. There's no trees. What do you think the odds are?"
What are
Right?
the odds?
Or a place like Oregon, is it going to rain today?
Are there any clouds?
Yeah, it's not that different. My first
Mhm.
forecasting assignment was in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Mm.
That
Couple of
must have been
thunderstorms,
boring.
couple of cold days. Otherwise, clear. How many times can I forecast? How many different ways can you say it's going to be clear with
And
afternoon
that's
thunderstorms?
and that's why they get their little gigs their little gags and things they do. Their little funny things, right?
Yeah, that's right.
The
That's right.
weather people do.
Good old weather people. So good to see you, Todd. I hope everything's going well. I'm glad to see
Well,
everybody's here tonight. What's on the plan? Anybody got big plans over the next? Oh, you're in Bloomfield, New Mexico. Cool. I was born in White Sands, New Mexico, Arlene. Raised in El Paso, Texas, stationed in Albuquerque, and my grandparents lived in Truth or Consequences. So I had that I-25 corridor pretty well covered there. But anybody got anything big going on in the coming weekend? I mean, we just finished up with our fall break here. So what's going on? Anybody do anything?
Not really. It was
I don't
Canadian
know.
Thanksgiving this week.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you celebrate that with the turducken or a goose? What do you do?
Uh, Usually there's a turkey, but because of the way my mom is, we didn't have anything this year.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was always turkey every year, and your mashed potatoes and Brussels sprouts and all that stuff. And every year my dad'd say, "Oh, this is the best gravy I ever made." We heard that last year. Yeah, but this year it really is better.
And,
Every year.
Yeah,
this
every year.
time you get to when you cherish being able to hear those things from your parents.
Yeah.
My wife has now lost both of her parents, and she very often now saying, "I wish I had one more phone call from my dad." She saved some. She has voicemails and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But and my dad, he'll call me almost every night now. He's 80, he's 89, and but he'll call me almost every night, and sometimes it gets repetitive. But I take that phone call because I'm mindful of what my wife tells me about. Take that call from your dad. Hearing your dad tell stories about gravy. Those are
Mm-hmm.
important things to hold on to.
Well, the funny thing is, the older they get, the less they hold back.
Well, there's
True.
a reason for that.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Mhm.
last part that develops, particularly in young men, is the frontal cortex part that gives you your social cues.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it tells you about not taking risks. So, right about the age 26, it firms up. That's why in the military, strangely, guys who turn 26 to 27, give or take, generally, all of a sudden don't want to go to air assault school and they don't want to go to all these other, snake eating schools. They
Mm-hmm.
also have families and kids. Not all of them, but a lot of them. They just don't want to do the risk. Well, that's the first part of your brain to deteriorate in aging, particularly if you have a lot of amyloid plaques, type 3 diabetes, Parkinson's disease, all those neurological disorders. The first part to
Mm-hmm.
go is your governor and regulator. So all of a sudden now, your
No
parents
person.
are speaking like they're back in college, and you've
Mhm.
never saw them in college. You go, I didn't know my mother or my father knew those words or did those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's very, so my father-in-law had it beat. He was a normal man, did normal things, went through normal life cycle stuff, 4 children, right? He spent the last 40 years dedicating his life to studying the Gospels and studying the Bible. When his filters dropped, all that was left was what he had dedicated the last 40 years of his life to, a guy who was searching for wisdom in the Word and asking questions in the Word. Now, on the other hand, my father, who I love dearly, has not been that man. And he has some addictions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to be around someone who has I'll just say a pornography addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a fully grown man in his own home, can do what he wants to do, but he sometimes behaves like a 13-year-old.
Mm.
And that's one of the hardest things I've ever, because I look up to, and I don't say I worship, but I very much look up to my father. And it's like, wow. Note to self, Scotty, get some habits that are ingrained so that when the inevitability, now it may only be 2 weeks for me, maybe this carnivore thing and all the ketones running through my brain will give me an ability to maintain for a long time. But I've had a number of TBIs, traumatic brain injuries. Odds are that the physiological damage will to a loss of that control. Well, I want to be that fellow who only has good things to say to people and nice things to say to people, encouraging things, who maybe knows how to have an innate ability to withhold a response. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Or have a more mature response as you age or get into that, maybe.
Because it happens to women too. Because I know of someone in my family who hey, if you want to come in, by Todd, yeah, no problem.
Throw that link in for him.
Yeah, but someone in my family who was involved in Chicago as a flapper and she got around with the boys in Chicago, right? When that moment came, right, and she lost her control, not only was she angry, but she talked about things that are inappropriate to be heard by other people who are not mature about things groups of people might do, right? And so that's another great reason to be involved in carnivore. Another great reason to be involved in doing what you do, Rob, or what a lot of people here also do as having a moral compass of sorts. I don't say that someone should be beat up or feel guilty for what they've done in their lives. I don't. However, I do believe that maybe, like you said earlier, take responsibility, take control, and do things to facilitate a different outcome if you know that outcome's a question. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, Todd.
I have done something wrong for sure. Sorry. I'm trying. Oh, here we go. I know what it is. Sorry. There we go. Okay, I had your stream open still. Do you hear the air conditioner this time like you did the other night?
Yeah.
Dang it. I've been working. I downloaded this stupid software and it will not work.
What software are you using?
It's called Crisp, and it's supposed to be the number one background noise canceling.
Hold on.
I just shut it off.
Oh.
Yeah.
What type of microphone are you using?
It's a Samson.
This
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem I think is what's going on is I'm using a video software called Camo Studios.
Right.
And so I'm actually running my microphone through CRISPR, then through Camo, and then to StreamYard, and I don't think it likes it. It's supposed to work.
No, can you put CRISPR on the back side of Camo?
I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in a lot of audio things, what you want to do is you want to do everything. You want to do your audio last, like, and then everything gets condensed and done. Because if you're doing it the other way, it has a time. Try that. Try that audio change. Because what for my software, that's what I do. That's why I can add some compression and noise suppression. So my super loud computer, you don't hear it.
Okay, so let me do this.
So consider that.
Okay, so I did that. Now I'm going to go to CRISPR. Sorry, I can do this later to.
Well, Arlene, there's a lot of good articles about how, let's not just say carnivore, right? But let's say um, dropping a high load of sugars in your life and getting more ketones into your diet are extraordinarily beneficial. And I have landed on some studies that talk about C18, which is stearic acid. And stearic acid has a receptor on cells. It's one of the few, and it has a direct impact on mitochondrial function. So if you were to type in C18, stearic acid, mitochondrial function, the number of studies that talk about how beneficial that is, to the point that they're actually suggesting in the study that more intervention at the macro level in the diet to increase stearic acid is being used to treat Parkinson's, non-responsive Parkinson's disease. And there's a lot of really Bart K science that goes right after those words that I won't pretend to understand.
And where do we get stearic acid?
And you get stearic acid from beef,
Beef. Yes.
stearic acid from butter. You can get it from some other meat sources. There are a couple of vegetables that have like a minuscule part, but the largest source naturally of stearic acid is in cocoa butter.
You know, I heard you talking about this a few nights ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that night, I dreamed about 3 people from my church. They were all crying. And then the one teenage girl, she came up to me and said, "You need more stearic acid." And I told them about it. And the mom, I told the mom, and she's like, "I don't even know what that is." And I'm like, well, I said a lecture on it.
I know I did get off kind of tangent
Yeah,
on that one,
it was
but
a
the
good one.
idea is I put cocoa butter in my coffee. I buy a block, a pound of it at a time. I
Yeah.
shave it off and I put it in my coffee, and it gives it a wonderful flavor. It's about 44% stearic acid.
Wow.
Now I bought pure stearic acid. I went to Amazon, bought a couple pounds of it, and I can add it to things too to up the stearic acid. And I will tell you, it does increase my energy, but it makes the mitochondria say it's party time. And so they are starting to use it for treatment because of its ability to help. Because you now, as we think about the carnivore diet, I mean, we're getting a lot more stearic acid, particularly in
Mhm.
ratio to everything else, just by eating more butter and beef and stuff like that.
Right?
So
Yeah. I thought you got stearic acid at a Grateful Dead concert.
no, that's purple microdot.
Becky laughed.
I did.
Okay,
I
I
rolled
just
that
I
in
love a
so he can
drug
get all
joke.
his hair out.
real quick.
Only worse.
I'm from
Do you,
Oregon.
do you hear that now?
I'm from the town Ken Kesey is from, man.
Well, I just think that if everybody goes out there, and like we were saying at the very early part of this, we're not talking about cures, we're not talking about medical advice, but if you want to do an N of one and go do your research and then find out. But have you ever noticed when people say after they eat chocolate, they feel euphoric and they feel good?
Mm-hmm.
I
The
think
cocoa butter, huh?
this is just me, okay, and
Yep.
my mind's a little bit different, but your initial response to the chocolate is the sugar ramping you up, right? But the stearic acid takes almost about 3 hours to work through the system to get to the mitochondria to do its thing, right? So it's a continuation of a long-term improvement of your mitochondrial function, given to that you don't have a highly negative environment there because of all the sugar. Does that make any sense? So, but it's very cool research. If you get a chance to look it up, it's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do you got there, Todd?
I give up. I've tried 3 audio softwares today. I downloaded them all. I've tried it, every combination through the software. I don't think any of these like Camo. I think that's the only problem. But I'm just gonna have to be hot while I'm on live streams and shut the air
Well,
conditioner.
I'll tell you one thing. If you were to go look up the Elgato line of products, I don't know if you like. I got the Elgato face cam. I got the Elgato 3 mic, and it came with its own software. And that's what I have everything going through, and it works pretty good.
Perfect. I'm
So
gonna give it a shot because
just
this mic.
look at it, research it. Have you done a lot of YouTube University using what you have?
This I just bought because it was supposed to be the number one mic in like the mid price range without spending $500 on a mic. It was like a $200 mic, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so I just bought that one. It has its own software, but it doesn't have noise cancellation. So
So, okay, so there's a software I'm using is Elgato Wavelink. Now, I don't. It might work with your microphone. It might not.
I'm gonna
Take,
try
take
that
a look
one
at
there.
it. And I don't know if Audacity would work for you either.
That's actually the next one that I was gonna try because that was another one that they suggested.
Audacity is really good too. But again, I would highly recommend going to YouTube University to get people who actually do this for a living tell you exactly how you need to patch it, because the way you patch it drives a lot. And I'm sorry for the technical lingo for all the people going, well, we don't have any problems. Well, we're trying to help Todd out.
I appreciate it. I'll stop bugging you, but yeah, I'll get it figured out later. I was just hoping. The stupid thing was I couldn't tell if it was doing it on my end because I can't hear the background noise myself. So I'm like, how am I going to test this thing? I don't think they're working, but
Right. I get you. All right. Well, I hope that helps, Arlene. Stearic acid, that's right. C18 is the chemical name and a numerical chemical name. And I like it. I use it. It works. I've lost better part of 30 pounds, I think. I haven't been on a scale for a while because me and Woodster got into that silly little agreement.
Still on your no scale.
Yeah, no scale November started in September. So with that, and we just went over, oh yeah, autocorrect. I know, Linda, isn't it a bummer? With that, we passed the 2 hour mark, and I made that agreement with my wife. I wouldn't stay on 2 hours. So I'm gonna sign off here. So let's go around the room one time here. We're gonna go first to you, Todd. You got anything you want to share other the fact that you're working on your audio?
I'll have it fixed by this weekend, I hope. But me and Limitless Lindy are doing a live stream on Sundays now. If you want to check that out, that's fun. And it's also, while I'm on here, I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you guys. I got wrapped up in my stupid microphone. But nice seeing you guys. I haven't actually seen either one of you in person, I don't think. So it's nice meeting you guys.
Well, hopefully they'll make it. But everybody knows Carnivore Cure Todd, and then Bubba and Becky, are regulars, and yeah, they're awesome people. I hope if you haven't followed them, you start to follow them, and you really enjoy the content of their channels. I really enjoy it.
Thank you, Scott.
Miss Becky, go ahead. Anything?
Got nothing coming up. No.
No, I got nothing. Hey.
No, not till the end of the month. So the 31st, I'm doing Ignore Trick or Treaters with me, 6 p.m. Pacific, alive.
All right, and show the merch again from your son's studio.
Trox.
All right, so her son's a music producer,
Yeah.
and does a lot with the hip hop area, right?
Yeah, he works with rappers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I couldn't wrap a burrito, but that's good.
Well, he lives in San Antonio, so you know.
Hey, there you go. I've been there at least once with my Air Force basic training. I've been a couple times.
I know you did.
How about you, Bubba?
Oh, I don't know. Just want everybody to have a good day. Keep moving forward, right?
Eat some meat.
And be good at whatever you do.
Yeah. No, it's life's too short. Tomorrow may never come, so you got to be in the present and just keep pushing forward.
Nice. Yeah.
That's right. So I'm gonna answer real quick for Arlene. I use astatic acid for it. I use it for improving my mitochondrial health. I use the cocoa butter because it's a fat, and my body likes fat. And butter has it. I use butter also, and yeah, I like the taste of it. It's all good for me. And I just want to say thank you to Becky and to Bubba for jumping in
Oh,
tonight, and Todd for coming in. And for those who haven't been in yet and who may be wondering when they might
yeah. Let's see.
want to, I mean, I throw the link out. You saw it happen 3 times. I'll throw the link out. You come on in, and you can definitely join us if you've never done it before. I think it's a pretty friendly environment, and we welcome you. I welcome you. I hope that everybody feels like they're welcome to express things that are important to them. And that's pretty much what we do here. And Arlene, I get it on Amazon. I just go to Amazon. Tell you what,
What I just told her.
tomorrow night I'll do it. I'll have some links and I'll throw out some links. And if you want to go out and get it and do it, you can go and peruse your own. I'll even throw out some links for studies that I have saved off. If you want to read those studies, most medical studies you can read the opening and the findings and conclusion and understand it. All the stuff in between, you go to Bart K for. Okay. And with that, I'm gonna bid you all adieu. God bless. Have a
All
great
right.
night.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you
Have
very
a good
Later.
night.
much.
Okay. Bye bye.
Okay, seeing you guys. Bye.